Look at this. Body language can tell you a hell of a lot. And I think in this moment here, 50 minutes into the game, of which Tottenham, of course, won 1-0 against Man United, I think you see a lot of the problems for Man United. Here, massively. I think poor Bruno as well. Dorgu, not really knowing who he can even talk to. And Xerxes with his hands on his knees. We're going to get into all of this because I want to talk about Man United out of possession. I want to talk about Man United in possession. I want to touch on how Tottenham were able to pull apart, really drag this Man United team about. But I also want to provide little glimmers of hope throughout. I think there are actually, and this will blow your mind, first of all, I think there's a solution to how bad Man United were out of possession in this game. A very easy one, actually. But secondly, there's another thing that kind of needs to be spoken about that I don't think anyone wants to, but I think it's actually, there's an element of relief in it if we do look at it. Let's start off with the teams themselves. And then I want to talk about pictures, because I think pictures are really, really important here. So you got your two teams set up here, and Tell's, of course, going to play up front. He's going to work his way up there. Let's take that off him. Bentancur, happy to sit as that single six. Bergvall sort of hiding in the shadows of Casemiro. Madison, we'll come back to Madison because he had a very interesting role to play. Kulusevski staying high, often kind of past Dorgu, and Dorgu then getting dragged back. Heung-min Son, exactly the same, kind of getting dragged back as well. And Jed Spence having a really interesting role as well. Davies, a lot of people didn't spot this, but I wonder if anyone else, well, we'll talk about it, but it was really interesting how they sort of dealt with the two halves of the pitch. I'll give you some examples of that. Danso, I thought, was really assured in this game, by the way. And then Porro, of course, doing Porro things up here. And the big problem that was highlighted correctly was these two. But one of these players in particular, I think, will get a very rough ride, but poor bloke. He was getting dragged everywhere. And in terms of on the ball, the first thing that, like, to stay in a game, like we did the podcast with Neda Manua last week, and he said about being able to get up the pitch is a really big part of football. That sounds so obvious, right? But if you can't get up the pitch, it's going to make life really, really difficult. And one thing that I found straight away, and we're going to kind of go through the game here. And as I say, through the game, there's moments of positivity for Man United. There really is. And of course for Tottenham as well, some great performances in there. But this is 25 seconds in, and I thought straight away, you've got that 5 of Man United, and the ball is in the air here. And we're all keeping an eye on Casemiro. Because I think if your legs go, then you've got to be that little bit quicker. Just sort of get yourself out of it. And I felt sorry for him early doors, because he had a little look, and he saw the header to Højlund was there. And he tried to do that. He did that. It wasn't the best because they were pressing. It was 25 seconds into the game. Porro's got at him. But he's fortunate enough that the ball drops back to him again. And poor Casemiro, even in this moment, straight away, I thought, look, he's getting at you. He's getting at you. And Casemiro just, all he wants to bloody do, poor bloke, he just wants to play 5 yards simple passes. But that picture wasn't there for him. And that was one thing I want to say from the offset. There's like 20 games in, those people that aren't seeing the pictures quickly enough, well, you say you want to get rid of them, but like, look at this. This subs bench, with arrows on it, this is the context that's got to be remembered here. So I'm really impressed with Man United fans right now. I think that the fact that they're kind of hanging in there with Amorim, with the setup, with the bench. I appreciate like being disappointed with the substitutes not coming on. And I think just on this quickly, what I thought initially just that feels like a message to the world that this is all we've got. But if you don't go and look at the squad and look at the injuries that this team's got right now, it's not far off. Is it Lindelof was one of the few? To go through the squad, they are really lacking in players. And that's why everything will feel a little bit heavier, I think, today. Because, as I say, starting off here, then Casemiro then tries some little loopy nonsense. Doesn't work. He hasn't got the ability on the ball when players are pressing him. The likes of Bergvall and Kulusevski outrageously, have high stamina. And so he gives the ball away. And so that's one thing I wanted to kind of say at the start. These pictures are really important. And the players that aren't seeing the pictures on the ball, I think that's a huge problem. Off the ball, I think there are more deep-rooted problems here. at bay. And Tottenham absolutely exploited them. And the reading of the game of Madison, he did it at Old Trafford, he did it in this game as well, was really, really nice to see. And it led to a very, very difficult afternoon for Bruno Fernandes, who I presume was absolutely shattered by the end of this game. So let's go to what, and this is so early on in the game, and it was very, very comfortable and easy for them. And when we were talking about that midfield too, this was a big thing. Have a look at Madison there, having a little look. And he's having a look at Delo because he knows what he wants to do. He wants to be able to kind of get on the ball and dictate play. You've got your back four here. I just draw 2 lines here. There's your back four. And Heung-min Son out wide here. And whilst the ball's over on that other side, he's not even looking at the ball because he's keeping an eye on what he can do here. And the big problem here for them is that there's a triangle here. But he doesn't just look at Delo. Check this out. He now has another look. Who's he looking at this time? This time, he's having a look at Mazraoui. And you can see Mazraoui kind of wants to be ready if Madison steps into this area because that's his job. They've got that extra body. And even at this stage of this moment, this movement, I'm starting to get nervous already because say he just got the ball and went and told to span and his body weight's that way. Or they were able to do a crossfield build to Heung-min Son. Either way, Man United are in massive trouble. I'm almost fortunate with modern football now that teams don't play the ball as directly as they maybe should do. And maybe that's kind of a secret that Liverpool have been able to have this year. But so he's perfectly in line with him. And what Madison does is he doesn't go, he stays. Delo is starting to think, okay, the ball's coming out here. I need to get myself back into position. And it's from this moment that Man United get themselves in a right pickle that they try and retrieve but aren't able to do. Because Madison starts to peel backwards. Jed Spence moves inwards and Delo is confused. We move it on. There you go. You can see Madison making this run as the ball's making its way over to this left-hand side. Now Bruno Fernandes is thinking, that's my man. I've got to make my way over there. And Delo is going, well, that's my man over there. So I'm in line. I'm okay. But also I'm slightly worried about Heung-min Son. So everyone's in really awkward positions out of possession. By the time the ball gets over here, Bruno Fernandes will make that large run over to this hand side. And actually in the middle, you can see Casemiro is now looking a little bit overwhelmed here. You've got Delo looking to make his way here. Mazraoui. Everyone's sort of 5 yards off it, really. Pass is able to be played quickly. And this is the thing when we talk about pictures and profiles. Is that what's so great about Jed Spence for Tottenham and what's so great about Madison in this sort of, I guess, triumvirate, if you add Heung-min Son into it, is that he's really comfortable here. He's happy to get on the ball. He's happy to turn on the ball. He's happy to drive with the ball. He's happy to deal with pressure, which he deals with later on. And he is absolutely superb and enjoying this role more and more. And when you can get Madison on the ball, dragging one of your midfielders out, you're in all sorts of trouble. And as I say, here, there is just all sorts of trouble. And Madison, if he just played this one pass over the top, Heung-min Son's on his way as well. And actually even Tell's on his way with a one-on-one with Maguire. So they're all getting dragged out all over the place. They get away with it this time. They're able to get their shape back. And that is the kind of contingency plan of having 5 at the back. And it is 5 at the back at the moment. It's 5, it's 2, it's 3. But one person that we haven't spoken about in all of this is Xerxes. Xerxes, off the ball, and we're going to talk about how great he is on the ball. Off the ball, he is hard work. Hard work for Bruno Fernandes to kind of come back into it. And again, when we're coming back to profiles, Bruno Fernandes out of possession to have to deal with Casemiro on one side, you just being a 2, secondly, and Xerxes in front of you, that I wouldn't wish on anyone, especially a team with the fluid movement of Tottenham. And I say that loosely because Tottenham have been awful, haven't they? They've been so bad. But Xerxes is trotting all the time. So they scurry, they scamper, they get away with it. And very quickly, Bruno goes, Mazraoui, you need to get tighter when I go. When I jump, you've got to come with me. Fast forward, so a moment later, Mazraoui is sort of half trying to do it, but isn't there. And Casemiro is not close enough either. And the ball makes its way out. And this is 2 minutes into the game. 3 minutes 41. See Bruno Fernandes doing the same thing because Madison has gone into his more conventional position now of being in that left half space. Jed Spence playing as a proper left back here. And that rotation there throughout was there for all to see. And something we'll come back to as well is, in terms of the two halves of the pitch, often the centre-backs for Tottenham would do this. So you'd have one bang in the centre. And then you'd have one as either a left-sided centre-back or Danso as the right-sided centre-back. Constantly doing that, cutting off one half of the pitch to then switch on the other side. And the reason they were doing that is because of that back five, again, of Man United. They're not afraid here. They're not afraid of this at all. So it allows for Porro to step into this line of it as well. And you're still safe, really. Anyway, the ball gets played through and Bruno Fernandes is trying to keep an eye on it this time. The ball circulates again. This is a minute later over to Jed Spence. Again, really easily. And again, he's just trotting. Like, I can appreciate this idea of, okay, let's have a five here. Let's be really kind of compact so they don't come through the centre. And so you're going to allow this. But the doggies that he has to do time and again, and just take a second for and think, imagine a four. Imagine it being a back four, or even just imagine that that's Odegaard. Or even if imagine that's Bruno Fernandes, someone with a bit more energy out of possession would just work a little bit harder for the team. So he wouldn't have to do this and get dragged out and leave these enormous spaces. But to stop those spaces, the idea is that Mazraoui is the one that kind of comes and helps out. So this time he's trying to do it. Mazraoui, he's doing his job. Good. Get at him. He's a bit tighter. He's a bit tighter. Okay, maybe we're getting somewhere here. But Madison on this occasion is too good for him. Now, you'll take that because at least you're affecting the game and stopping the game. But I think the overarching thing here is that he's doing nothing ever out of possession. And they're getting dragged. Players are getting dragged throughout the game. That's my doorbell. That invitation of pressure felt like it was always there. And I do just keep coming back to profiles because instead of going backwards and retreating, being careful, you go forwards. Here's a good example of it. And this is, again, another example of the dancer on this right-hand side a lot of the time sort of stepping in. And it's because they're just not afraid. Because if you have a look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pretty much in a line. And then another 2. Even if you win the ball, what do you do with it? How do you get up the pitch? How do you relieve the pressure? And Tottenham took that invitation and really had a high rest defence, basically one guy at the back at all times. The ball sometimes would break and they were trying their best, but it would come round. And look, 4 minutes 47. Again, this principle that we're talking about, one player in the middle, then essentially actually you've got 2 along this line here, really, or 3 if you include Bentancur. But if you think of it initially being a back 4 from Tottenham, to do that with such comfort is impressive from Tottenham, but it's poor. They often invite those crosses. You've got all these bodies here, so you're generally okay, and the ball comes back out. But back to back, Casemiro, yes, he helped. But in terms of getting up the pitch, it's difficult. The ball's now in the air here. And you're just giving the ball back. The ball goes back. Ben Davies, slap bang in the middle. 2 defenders ready in front of him in that next line of defence. And then again, you're basically bypassing this front 2, let's say, because Xerxes not doing much. And who's got to do the doggies? Yep, you guessed it. Bruno Fernandes has to go over and do that work again. And when he does that, that means Casemiro's got to deal with all of this. Unless Mazraoui steps in, which generally he was ready to do. And the work that you're getting your best player to have to do, and just let this run through, and it's why it's about profiles sometimes, and players that are sort of brave enough, confident enough to try different things. Jed Spence, who was just here, we were talking about a few minutes ago, right? Now this time he's got it. He's gone, do you know what? I am fully capable of making a run. Heung-min Son makes a run inside. Again, people getting dragged all about. And who's got to do the doggies? Bruno Fernandes. Poor bloke. Like, the guy's supposed to play centre midfield. He's supposed to get on the ball. He's supposed to affect the game. It's too much. It's too much. They were getting dragged all over the place in the first half. And that reading of the game, I did want to sort of touch on Madison for a second, because I think the goal here as well, it speaks volumes on Madison as a player. I don't really get the I think, look, physically, sometimes maybe is he not going to win tackles for you? I actually thought he did 1 or 2 in this game. He will always get on the ball. He will always look and find solutions and pockets. And I think he's a really, really enjoyable player to watch. And I thought his reading of the game, it was exemplified here. Because look at the body language of everyone. Madison so clearly is thinking a couple of steps ahead. So when that shot comes in, a lot of people are having to go, De Ligt, I think it's a little bit harsh. Like you've just put a cross in, the ball's come out. Your body weight's naturally going to be that way. You've got to turn around. But Madison is switched onto it. It gets the goal, and actually it wins the game at the end of it. And so it's those little things. Okay, yeah, he's a bit cheeky, and people might not like that. I think he's wonderful. And I think they couldn't live with his movement for a lot of this game. Now, glimmers. Let's have some glimmers. I've got glimmers. So this is one with that high line. And one thing that I've been preaching for a long time with Højlund. And it's not like, just play. The problem is, with these two, they are completely surrounded if you do want to play through. If you can, that's the game changer. That is the game changer for Man United moving forward. And that's why it's about really ingraining this system and hanging in there. Because if you can do that, then you can take so many players out. But they did have one nice moment, and I think that needs to be done more, is Højlund making those runs, especially when you've got someone like Xerxes, who, when he does pick up the ball and link play, he's really, really good. Højlund has to be used more with these channel balls. Don't hesitate, just do it, because you've got a back five. You've got so many players back there. They did it. He was able to get a yard on and get a shot off. It wasn't the best shot. I get that, and I appreciate he's in really bad form. But how many chances he really had? We're still in that place. We're still in that place. This, coming back to the start of the video, is part of the problem. Because once you get into the final third, I think you can see what you want to see from Man United and from an Amorim team. Again, another glimmer. But the body language of so many players here, and Casemiro in particular, I think you're better off playing a kid. Because this is so simple as a little bounce back. Or come side on, and can we then play forward? But instead, you're going, Maguire, come back. De Ligt, come back. Yeah, don't pass it to me. I don't want it. And trust me, I've done that. It happens in midfield. You hide. But I think the body language of Bruno Fernandes in all of this, I think, is glaring as well. He is, 1, knackered, 2, probably blown away with the fact that Casemiro doesn't want to get on the ball here. Because you know what's coming. And I'm about to show you it. You were just going to go round the side. It's we're back where we started with Man United. And it's exactly what happens. You've got a team that's ready to press you. You've got 2 midfielders who are... He's doing too much running. He is hiding and doesn't want the ball generally. So the ball makes its way around. Delot is too deep. I think there's a conversation to be had about Delot. Is he going to be capable of being a Man United wing back? I'm not sure. I think you've seen with Thogden and what he can offer in terms of getting up the pitch and having that bit of pace and drive and directness. Delot, for me, is always just dropping just way too deep. They need to be stronger with this. And Onana needs to be braver with this in terms of stepping out and becoming the fourth. But here, who has to do the running? It's Bruno Fernandes. And he does do that. And then he tries to play a pass, God bless him, and it doesn't come off. And people will go, he's always trying to do the glory ball. I think I've said it myself. But what else is he supposed to do? He's being pressured. He's just ran from over there all the way over to here just to help out the team. He is all alone right now. Glimmer. Ready? Glimmer. Got a glimmer for you. When you get to a point with this Man United team and you're able to cut through the middle with a double pivot that can actually deliver, and a team that can be confident in having the ball in those areas, then you might have something. And this was a great little moment of it. Maybe just a moment of lack of pressure. Madison doesn't get tight enough. 2-touch stuff from Casemiro, plays the ball forward and gets the ball to Xerxes. Now, Xerxes, out of possession, is a 2 out of 10. In possession, he is a real asset for this team because players bounce off him. He's able to kind of stand still, bring players into play, He can turn with the ball. He can find the pass. He can dribble past players really, really comfortably. And that is a great asset. But again, we're all going to scream it. When it comes to profiles, yes, here in this moment, wonderful. Like, was here, ends up over here. Okay, that's fine. It's when you haven't got the ball and he's just non-existent. It makes it an uphill battle. So can you get around that? I think you maybe can. But when there's going to be goals that are going to come from the ripple effect of Bruno Fernandes being knackered in certain situations because Xerxes not doing enough off the ball. But this, as I say, played, then a lovely ball out wide. Let me show you it. Pops it off, plays it. And Dorgu's there. He's there. He's not sort of waiting, or he's not about to sort of burst from here to here. He's there. So the glimmers, we see it. We're off. We're on our way. Here we go. This is what we wanted. We've got Delo probably on the right-hand side as well. That pop. It's gently, slowly coming. And actually, I think, is this the same passage of play? Yeah, 16 minutes. By the time they sort of kept it for a bit, and then they moved it over to this other side, you've now got Delo, who again, imagine that's someone else. Imagine someone that the defender's actually scared of him driving. Then you've got a team, because you've got 1, 2, 3, one on the edge. It glimmers. There's stuff there. Again, Xerxes, when he can get on the ball centrally, no one's got. Højlund doesn't seem to be able to be good enough on the ball with it back to goal. I still don't think they're using him enough. But when you can get these two together on the ball, there's a nice little partnership of movement there. Actually, Garnacho is able to find him as well, or he can take players out of the game as well. So there are positives in possession. Here, it's one where he's able to pop. He holds the ball up, pops it off to Casemiro. Casemiro plays it to Bruno Fernandes. Højlund makes a wonderful run here, takes 1, 2, 3 players away from him. Move it on. He takes one touch back. And he's able to play a really easy pass because those 3 players have been taken away. And then, of course, Garnacho has to score. And again, I think with the noise that there will be for every Man United game, for every Big Six game, let's say, if you're the team that's struggling, it's so noisy. But I've watched the game back this morning, and you can see there are moments of great movement, and it is gently getting there, but it's piecing it all together, and it's piecing it together with a squad that is just doesn't utterly fit right now. Certainly out of possession, and certainly in the build-up phase. Here's another example of it. It's the same thing, 27 minutes. You know you're going to go all the way round. And this is what actually happened more often than not. That initial one where Bruno Fernandes was able to make that run and help the team out. Actually, this time when it makes its way round, what actually normally happens is he's again too deep. He's always too deep. Like, stand still, stand higher. He's on his way, but by this point he's got someone up his bum. And so that pass isn't on. You're going to play it there, you're going to play it back, you're going to play it there. How many times have Man United fans seen that this season, or the last few seasons? So there's still massive problems in terms of getting out of these areas and having comfort in these areas. And that probably comes down to quality. I feel like Delo is just not going to offer enough going that way, really, ever, to kind of get where you want to be. And, just to finish this example up, he plays it long and then they've got the ball back. Just constantly, like, out of possession. It's a problem. He's just standing there. It's so easy. He's going to have to run. There's going to be this enormous space here. And just, look at the space Casemiro is having to deal with because of this flat, negative back line, where really it should be like this. There should be at least a 4, if not, and he's got to be working. Everyone's got to be working. So it's very difficult for Amorim. I mean, this is even more glaring, isn't it? Because they just know they're able to get through Xerxes at all times. 45th minute, I felt we kind of saw it once again. Both fullbacks, nice and high. You can't even see him right now. Actually, the switch happens, doesn't it? Switch is over, and that's what you want to see. That's the picture you want to see. But moving forward, it's got to be better. Jed Spence, I just wanted to touch on him again. Comfort, because I think you see sort of messaging for Madison loves playing that passes. He loves dropping deep and playing those passes. Spence is happy to do, step in here and if he needs to get it. But also, again, another aspect of him, happy to run into that channel. Son, technically good enough to play that pass as well. Does it. Mazraoui has to go with him. I mean, defensively, they're okay. I guess you got 3-on-2 for Man United. But a moment of appreciation for Jed Spence. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was able to sort of roll Mazraoui easily. And not only that, get to the byline, get a great cross in. Probably my man of the match. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Wanted to show this one because I think it shows, again, what you want to see. Imagine all players that want to be in these kind of areas or a higher level of quality in these areas. And I think Dorgu brings a lot for the team because Porro there dragged just that little bit. Bergvall just in front of him, so he's not in the right space. And then this huge space for them to run in. Xerxes coming this way. You've got both people running in the channel. You've got another one down here. But who's the man who's on the ball? It's Delo. I mean, I don't want to hammer him. It's not about that. It's about the system you're trying to play here and how you could try and get somewhere. Again, great example, because Dorgu's dragging players out just that little bit more. And Xerxes, this is where he is great. Getting on the ball, dropping, turning, and then able to play that pass. It could have been so different. I don't really want to hammer Garnacho for this because actually I think we're seeing him getting better areas. My thing with Garnacho is he's so direct. He's so direct. And my guts thinks, I don't think Højlund will ever score the goals that he wants to with Garnacho in this team because he just never looks to him. But look there, he's created a great moment for himself through a great run, great intensity and pace. Gets his shot off, doesn't work out, but I do think Dorgu. I think there's some good stuff there. Kulusevski wasn't able to get around him that often, if at all. Physically got up and down. He was there all the time and dragged them out, and that's a new element of balance. Again, a bit of a glimmer. And this is again, I just want to highlight Bruno. First of all, just picking up the ball here, like any other midfield, like any other six. He's hiding. You are hiding, I believe. So he's coming on to go, let me fix this. What can I do? How can I fix this? Watch this. He plays, he sprays a pass over to Delo here. It then goes to the close-up. He then Delo lays the ball back. To who? Bruno Fernandes. And this was a nice little, great cross from this area. Bruno Fernandes working so hard. Casemiro's ran about 5 yards during this period of time. And lots of boys in the box. Dorgu again, get himself up there. You got your 5 or your 4 in the box, getting into that half space and putting that cross in. It was a great cross. Didn't work out. Could have been so different. Could have been so different. And again, just a few moments later, lay it off. Mazraoui, same area, same cross. Xerxes with the header. Bodies in the box. There was a bit more tempo at this point. So again, another glimmer for Man United. My conclusion is that Tottenham needed that game. They got that game. They had a couple of those good boys back. Bergvall, I think, is getting better and better. But you were playing against just a team that is really not on the front foot right now. But when they do that, when they can be that bit braver, there's a chance here. Now, I promise you a solution. And I'm going to give you one. Here it is. Ready? Now, you're going to get annoyed there. I understand that. But imagine everything that we've been speaking about today. And the fact that Xerxes, is going to be a bit more central. He's going to get dragged a little bit more. But if Ugarte's here and Garnacho then drops in and they understand the two halves of the pitch, the amount of, the extra energy that you've got there in Ugarte. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic. The point is that it is about profiles. It's about pictures. It's about being embedded in it. And it's about having the legs or the assets that you need in the areas of the pitch of which you're playing. And Ugarte supposedly had a knock, so he'll supposedly be back soon. And I think if you can have that, and that is now your team, I think the other thing that's great, and you're not going to like this, you are really not going to like this, but let's be honest, okay? Let's be honest. this matters, right? Staying in the division matters. That's where we're at with Man United. And the thing that's really fortunate for you, Ipswich are on 17 points. They're 12 points off you. So if you were ever going to have a season this bad and you were going to commit to something so hard, this is the year to do it. Because really, I think at a push, all you need between now and the end of the season, probably 4 points. Let me know what you think.